What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today is a little different because today I've got a different video format for you guys. Howdy! Right now I'm on my way to work. I'm in my daily driver. I've got a little bit of time, so I figured I'd give you guys an update as to what I've got going on, what's going on with the channel, and some upcoming stuff. So first things first, the Cutlass. Right now it is like the middle of November, so the Cutlass is going to be going away for the winter time. So I typically store the car between like late November, early December to late March, early April. And that really covers me for the winter months. I'm in New England, obviously. I've got no real work to do to the Cutlass, so now I can get back to my regular schedule, I guess you'd call it, of like driving the car in the springtime, summertime, fall, and then putting it away for the winter time. Now, over the winter, I do take it out every now and again, like if there's a nice day and there's not too much junk on the roads. Warm it up, take it for a spin, and just keep all the fluids moving. I've had issues in the past where some of the old, some of the old lines will dry and crack in the wintertime, and I'd really like to avoid having to replace those. I don't think I'm gonna get to drive the car often enough to like prevent shrinking and cracking, because like anytime the weather gets cold, it'll do that. But that's pretty much what's up with that. The Cutlass right now is up to a good point, I think, where there's not really a whole lot left that needs to be done. We got the engine squared away. The 204R is great. I was having an issue. You guys saw in my last video, we got the intake leak fixed. However, that did cause a coolant leak. So I basically had to redo everything that I did. Got the intake back on, replaced it with a set of Mr. Gasket intake gaskets rather than the cheapo metal ones that I was using, which ended up being the problem. They just didn't seat well enough to hold the coolant where it needed to go. But so that's all squared away. I took the car out for a drive the other day. Still runs great. I think there is still one small vacuum leak. There's a line that runs from the brake booster on the master cylinder down to the manifold, and there's like a little I don't know what that joint is called. It sort of looks like a lowercase r. But there's basically a 90-degree joint that screws into the manifold, and that's where that line connects. So that line is a little loose. It's got a little bit of tape on there to help it really seat and not come loose. But I have removed that once or twice. So basically what I'm going to be doing is taking that out, unscrewing it, throwing some new tape on it, putting it back in, putting it back together. That should be like a 10-15 minute thing, if that. Shouldn't really be a big deal. But so what else? If you follow me on Instagram, I do post a lot of stuff about my car. It's pretty much exclusively my car. But a while back, I posted a picture of a motor that I had bought. And what that motor is, it's a 2001 LQ4 out of a Chevy Silverado 2500. So that's the middle of the line truck. It's an iron block, iron head, 6-liter. So that is going to be a big, long project because that is going to take a very long time to put together. I've never put together a motor before. I've certainly never put together an LS, but from what I've been told, they're fairly straightforward. I think 2001 was before like the whole displacement on demand thing, so I don't think I'm gonna need to worry about that and like replacing the whole like lifter setup when I go to change the cam on it. But yeah, so that, I don't really know what I want to do with that. Like I don't know whether I want to leave the car the way it is and just put the LS in it, like leave the 204R in it. The stage, I think it's a stage 1 204R from Extreme Automatics that's in the car now. That's rated at about 450 horsepower, I think is what the website says. LS motors with a cam swap are making 500 plus horsepower. I don't really want to have to worry about breaking my transmission again So I'll have to figure out what I want to do there. I thought about 6-speed swapping the car, like putting a T56 Magnum in it or something. That was the original idea before the 204R, and that also would have been with an LS, which I could still do. I mean, I could really overhaul a car, but what I really appreciate about it now is that it just works. Like, I don't really know that I want to do too much more to it. So I'll have to figure out what I want to do with the LQ4, but maybe that'll go in a different project for another day. I could still build it, get it ready to go, and just have it ready. Yeah, so like I said, the Cutlass is pretty much there. I would feel comfortable in the springtime, like once all the fluids are changed and making sure like nothing's wrong with the electrical system. I'd feel comfortable driving it across the country. I really would. Really, anything else that I would do to it would be cosmetic or really extra at this point. So the car could use a new coat of paint. I don't really want to do that. That's really, in my opinion, painting is like the last thing that you should do to a car. Especially if it's something that you're going to keep for a really long time. You're never really going to get your money back when you paint a car, unless it's like a $100,000, $1 million restoration type of thing. Because like a really high quality, like 100%, 100-point show paint job is going to be upwards of $10,000. Because I mean, you got to factor in the body work. I know that there was some body work done to my car already, and it wasn't really done all that great. Like I've said before, it kind of looks like Ray Charles did it with his feet. So that would need to be corrected. But painting, but I'm pretty happy with the paint still. I mean, it's about a 10-foot car, so like it really looks good from about 10 feet. I know people get closer to it like during car shows and things like that, but I'm not really worried about it. I drive the car, so it's not like I need to worry about keeping the paint pristine. It's not like I need to like bubble wrap the car every time I take it home. I drive the car, I use it, and I love driving it, and I love not having to worry about the paint. So I think the paint is going to stay for now. What I would like to do is I'd like to replace at least the driver's seat, because it does have a pretty sizable tear in there now. That's just from me using it. I mean, I'm a pretty big dude, so me getting in and out of the car all the time is going to wear down the seat. And I've owned the car for, this will be my 9th year, I think. So I mean, 9 years of use, that's going to be pretty taxing on an interior. So I'd like to replace the driver's seat if I can. You guys saw I put the cup holder in there. That's made a huge difference in driving the car, even in the short amount of time that I've had it in there. So that's going to make road tripping the car next year so much more livable. I'd really like to put in an FM radio. The wiring in the car kind of scares me a little bit, just because it's older and I don't really know who else has done work to the car, so I don't really know what the wiring looks like. I've only really been underneath the dash once or twice, and I didn't really like what I saw, so maybe I'll do some wiring cleanup as well. But I'd like to add an FM radio. My wife and I have been to the drive-in a couple times, and we haven't been able to take the Cutlass because I don't have an FM radio. I've only got AM. So back in the day, I guess they used to have an AM station that you could tune into, but unfortunately that isn't really an option anymore. It's only FM. So I'd like to have an FM radio. I'd also like to update the speakers a little bit for like when we would do something like that, because right now you turn on the AM radio and you turn it to either church, politics, or sports, whatever you want to listen to, and it's just very crackly. It's not very high quality sound, and like I don't really listen to the radio anyway. I'm very much more like a Bluetooth Spotify person. So I mean, I'm not super worried about listening to music while the car is running, especially because it's so loud. I don't really think you'd be able to hear it anyway. But like when we're sitting parked and we're watching a movie at the drive-in or something, really like to be able to take the Cutlass, because that's what you did back then, is you took your classic car, especially if you had a convertible, that made it way easier to watch the movie, and you just hung out, had a good time. So I feel like an FM radio would really help with that. Another thing I'd really like to do is air conditioning. You know, I know that's going to cause some controversy. Why do you need AC? Because it's a convertible, like just put the top down. Let me tell you what, when you put the top down on a 90-degree summer day and you're sitting in traffic just roasting in that sun, you need some airflow. So I've considered a couple times, I've thought about getting like a vintage air system. Their system is all electric, so I don't need to worry about any vacuum connections. I don't need to worry about my cam being bigger than stock and causing like low vacuum and not being able to run the system. And they make systems that convert non-factory air cars to factory air. So I think I'd really like to do something like that, and it should just be like a pretty plug-and-play system. I think the only thing I would need to change is maybe like the crank pulley, and I think I could just get that from Fusic Automotive, which is right near me. So that shouldn't really be too big a deal, but that's like $1,500. That's kind of a big swing, to be honest. Not everybody can just go out and drop $1,500 on an air conditioning system. So I've got to figure out really when I want to do that. So it may not be next year, maybe the year after, but we'll see. But so that's pretty much what's going on with the Cutlass. I have some big plans for next year. I'd still really like to do Power Tour. I mean, a lot of these plans are obviously COVID dependent, but I'd really like to do Power Tour. I'd really like to take the car up to Maine. I really wanted to do that this summer, but the car just wasn't 100% dialed in like I wanted it to be. But now I think, especially if we left like late on a Friday night or even really early Saturday morning for like a weekend trip or something, I really think that we'd be able to drive the car straight through, no problem. The other thing I'd really like to do is I'd like to get the carburetor tuned. I really need to figure out sort of how to do that. I need to do some reading into it. I need to, I mean, maybe I'll bring it to a shop and I'll video what the guy does from there. I don't really know what I'm doing there. Like, I tried to pull a couple jets out of the car, or I tried to pull a couple jets out of the carburetor. I don't really know if that helped. What I think I'll end up doing is sort of cheating a little bit. I'll have a like an air fuel ratio gauge installed, and I'll use that to tune rather than the vacuum gauge. Like, I'll make sure there's no vacuum leaks. I'll make sure I'm pulling good vacuum first, and then I'll just use the air fuel gauge. But I don't really know. That involves taking the car to a shop, having them weld in a bung and stuff, because I don't have a welder, and then going from there. And then, I mean, even then you run the risk of like instantly fouling the sensor, and then you got to get a new sensor, and those are expensive. So I don't know. I'll really just need to figure out. I'll either need to figure out what I'm doing, or maybe take it to a shop to have them tune it, and I'll see if they'll let me film there. But whether it's taking jets out of it, or tuning the idle mixture, or doing something with the idle circuit, I'm not super familiar with carburetors. I really like the 670 that I have now. Maybe what I'll end up finding out is I need to get a smaller carburetor. But I don't know. That's all stuff to come. Yeah, so those are really the plans for the Cutlass. I'd like to drive it more. I think it's at a point now where I can drive it more, especially with the 204R. I mean, 70, 75 miles an hour on the highway, I'm turning like 2100, 2200 RPM, especially with the 28-inch tall tires now. I mean, the car is just great. It really does drive nice on the highway. Comfy as a couch is really how it is. So I think with a couple minor updates, maybe one or two big updates, the car will really be perfect in my mind. And all that stuff, obviously, I'll document. I'll share it with you guys, show you what I'm doing. I'll try to show you how it's done. I know I'm not always great at that, So that's what's coming up for the Cutlass. Now I'm almost at work, so that's going to be about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like this kind of stuff. Let me know if you like wrenching versus talking. I'm happy to tell whatever stories I can, give whatever updates I can. Yeah, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, keep up with the car. I've got a big update coming in January, so that's going to be super exciting. So definitely stay tuned for that. And if you click subscribe, click the notification bell right next to it so that way you get an update every time I post a new video. If you know anybody that likes Oldsmobiles, likes projects, likes old cars, likes working on stuff, please share this video with them. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.